Welcome to Ride to Success, the podcast that takes you on a learning journey to a productive, creative, and active life. Today, I had the pleasure of chatting with Anna and Max, the founders of Standert Bikes. In the first ever podcast where they are together speaking about the brand, they give an insightful account of their journey, philosophy, and unique blend of creativity and community that powers their brand. Stay tuned until the end of the podcast, where they give some insightful advice about using creativity and business together to propel your brand forward. Before we get into the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, please review and follow the podcast wherever you listen to. I'll be forever grateful, and it helps us as well to grow. Now, back to the podcast. Welcome, Anna and Max, to Ride to Success. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
I've been following Standert Bikes for a while, and I think there's important lessons to learn from your inception in 2012 to now, and I think you have been doing great work. So I think it's there's a few learnings that hopefully we'll get from this conversation.
Thanks.
Before I start a few questions I have. There's a quote that I read in one of your previous interviews where I think is interesting and will probably set the tone to our conversation, which is, I have to read it here. So you likened Standert Bikes to Prince, the singer, a brand that is accomplished, sexy, and constantly creatively exploring.
That sounds like a quote from you. I mean, you're the Prince fan. I can't really remember saying
No, me neither, but it sounds like us because we both love Prince. Maybe me a little bit more than Max, but yeah. He's definitely a role model in terms of of the box, especially.
That's interesting because so I think picking up on that, is that part of that? Does that resonate with what inspired you to start Standards, or the vision of the company in some way?
Right. I mean, the particular interest in exploring creative ways in the world of cycling, for sure, is maybe the main starting point for Standard, even though in a very different and much smaller scale or scope than back when we started than it is now. But still, definitely to the day, it's what I enjoy most about my job. And yeah, so I would say absolutely we hold it with Prince.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, Prince is a high goal, but or someone very big to be compared to, or I don't know when we actually said that.
Okay. So I mean, so how is there been? I mean, obviously, the brand is very creative. Has the vision from its inception in 2012 to now, over a decade, has the vision evolved? Has it remained the same throughout all these years? Can you please elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. I guess I have to do a bit of a wider spread answer here. It has certainly evolved, but I would say or claim in quite a natural way. So when we started in 2012, I mean, I have told this a lot of times, so I'll do it very shortly. I was studying product design, industrial design. I was working as a messenger part-time next to university, and just the bicycle was a personal passion of mine, even though I don't have a background in professional cycling in any way. But I was mountain biking a lot and discovered city riding through messaging, the messenger job, and thinking about what is the product that interests me the most from a designer's point of view. That led me pretty quickly to the bicycle. and then starting Standert in the beginning, it was almost like a university project for me to design a frame for myself, to learn about the craft of how to design a bicycle frame, and then that came together with a passionate idea about having this space where basically me and my friends could hang out. Maybe as a background, Anna and me, we met in Anna's bar that she had at the time, a super cool bar. We met through the shared
Passion
love
for community, actually, right?
Well, yeah, love. I was going to say love for Guinness.
Oh yeah. Maybe a little bit of more of what our story, which Standard is. It's a community plays a big role, and I think we both love the idea of gathering people together that are kind of like-minded and that enjoy life and enjoy being together. And that led to the whole idea of the Standard Cafe, which it was in the beginning. And
which was a fairly new concept for Germany, inspired back then by the likes of Look Mom No Hands in London, and just like when you've skated in your youth, that a skate shop was such a place of desire. You'd go there, you watch some cool skate videos, you lust over some product, and then you meet your friends, you go out and skate because you're hyped. And that was kind of the whole idea behind having this bicycle cafe as a meeting point for friends and like-minded people. And to bring it back to the question of how the vision has maybe changed or evolved. Yeah, so that was the cafe part, and the bicycle part of it was in the beginning and all through the years until now. All the bikes that we have created under the name of Standard have always been bikes that we at the time wanted to ride ourselves and wanted to explore what this particular type of bike could be in a standard way. So we started with a very simple city Kyrene inspired single speed track bike, as it was the style for messengers back then.
And for young people, I think Standard, like our vision throughout the years, kind of grew up with us, right? Or with you especially, because
exactly. So I would say the company vision has kind of parallelly evolved with our own cycling lives and with our, I mean, also we have some people with us basically from the beginning that have played a big part in bringing the whole idea forward. And so that's
you do have a great emphasis on the cycling community and making sure that it's inclusive and open, and that's been kind of a focus of your brand, I think, from the start. And as Anna, you mentioned as well, the community aspect is very important from you from the beginning. So that kind of, I think that shines through the way you engage with people that initially came to your shop, to your cafe, but then as it evolved, people that like your brand, follow you on social media, and how you engage with them through content creators. And I think that's quite an important aspect to tie in here, because you are supporting, I guess, the people to come get to know the brand through a very organic way. And I think that's been perhaps one of the business strategies of Standard from the start. But can you please share a bit more of how?
Yeah, go on.
As I was going to say, can you please share a bit more of how what it was initially the business strategy, and as that still remain the core of the business strategy that you started in 2012 are they evolved, or do they still remain at the core of the identity of the brand?
Yeah. Well, the key is really the way to approach the product. That was always a product that especially I'm. You have to know that I'm not a cyclist. Cycling is not my passion, but of course, over the years, I'm very passionate about the product of the bike. But Max was always a cyclist, or even became more and more of a cyclist in terms of growing up in that regard as well. And he basically always made the product that he loved. So our product really comes from a point of passion about the product itself, and I think that helps a lot to be authentic and to really make something that people feel has a value. We never really looked at it as what do other people like, or what would our customers want, or something like it. It always was like, what do we actually like? You know, what is it that we, not me, but Max, enjoys about riding, and also our employees. And I think community starts with the company, and for us, the community within is very, very important. And I think that is something that you can feel with our brand as well, because everyone who works for Standard is part of the Standard family, and they have a big impact on everything we do, and they are part of the whole community and the world behind it, kind of. And I think that's also something that is very closely connected to our product and to our feel, which goes along with the brand.
The people really make the whole thing. Definitely. In Standard's case, you know, over the years, all those things that we have done kind of for the or with the community, they have always been carried by our colleagues, by our team, and a lot of times, even in their, you know, in their free time, gone on rides, organized rides open to everyone, been part of Team Standard racing team that has been around for, I think we started it in 2014. Basically just Standard staff members going racing together and training together, and so this is still also to the day the core of things, and you know, maybe it has grown a little and it has professionalized a little, but definitely the passion of the people is what still carries it in the regard of community, and also product, and, you know, also storytelling, brand. We get people thinking we have this, you know, huge marketing department being super slick and having this great influencer marketing strategy laid out. No, it's just one guy for the first, I don't know, 7 years,
something like that.
you know, and then all the employees just starring in the video shoots, and one of the staff members being the guy holding the camera. And
it's actually up until today that most of the stuff that we produce are just like small in-house productions, and almost all of our models, even on the website for the apparel and everything, is our staff. Like, it's our team.
Wow.
Like, it's, you know, like, it all comes within. And I think that is something that is so so sweet and so heartwarming, and that is something that you feel when you come across the brand. I hope so anyway, and I think the community shows it.
That definitely resonates with my own experience of Standard. I mean, I got to know Standert Bikes through another podcast that you are familiar with, Cycling Fashion Week, and I found them through them, and then I investigated, and again, I saw you as well at Rouleur, to last edition of Rouleur. So yeah, that kind of, it's I think it's the community aspect, and now the brand come across to people that are not aware of it. It demonstrates a bit how the passion and also the close knit nature of, in some way, how you operate. Which leads me to an interesting point, because as you grow and you are expanding to London, to Los Angeles, and to other cities in the world, these essence or that you are very carefully crafting in Berlin, where you're based, how are you able to engage with other cycling communities across the globe while still preserving that essence of the passion, the close-knit nature of a community, the group rides? Yeah.
Well, there's several answers to this. One is that the expansion of this, this feeling where someone is really part of something and belong and feels like part of the family, it works for us. It works in the way that when we have our ambassadors, right? They are all over the world, but they are only 6 people. And all of them are people that we haven't found through any, outreach or program or, or them cold calling us. Every one of these connections has come through an organic meeting in a way, and then has evolved into something. And one of those, for example, is also leading into maybe one of the next answer to this is, what do we do internationally to foster community, to bring this this core passion of Standard that we live in Berlin to bring this outside.
Are these 6 key people that you have relationships with, just out of interest?
Yeah.
What are they? Are they strategically placed around the globe? Are they?
No, they're not, because we don't want to be too naive about it, right? If there was a certain connection happening with someone, and we thought, we feel a relationship here evolving. Is this something where we could, engage, and it would also carry for us this additional value of being present in a certain market or area? In the end, of course, we have these business thoughts around the things
But
that we do.
it's not that we approached it that way.
But for example, if you look at Laz, one of our ambassadors in Cape Town in South Africa, the story behind that is a really interesting one, and kind of dear to our hearts, because this comes together with a program called Community Connect. I don't know if you've stumbled across it. It's funny because I was listening to the last episode, and Cape Town, of all places in the world, is where we also have kind of a community outreach program. But how did that happen? Out of nowhere, years ago, wrote an email to us saying, "Hey, I live in Cape Town, and there's a great community here. There's so many people who'd love to experience riding a bike, not only in the city, but also for with a sport background. But there is, of course, a lot of people who don't have the means to ever purchase a bike that would make that possible. So I have this idea of this thing that I call Community Connect, where I would have a few bikes under my care, and just give them out to people who would join rides that we organize here. We organize rides anyway, right? There is of course community that is active, and would you not be willing to to give me some bikes? Which, for us, we're not this, we don't have a big fleet of bikes standing around that we're waiting to distribute to whatever. But Julian, the guy, was just such a cool, nice guy, and the idea just resonated, and
Okay,
without
said like,
thinking
yeah,
too long, I
sure.
said, "Yeah, we'll do it, sure." And then, I mean, yeah, what has evolved from that is just so amazing.
Can you please share a bit, perhaps what what is the coming from that relationship with the Community Connect in Cape Town?
Yeah, so one of the guys that in the beginning got one of the bikes was Lasio, who starred in the I don't know if you've seen it. We had a release campaign last year for our Erdgeschoss
Together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sure, they shoot a
The
campaign for us.
main character was Laz. Laz works in this streetwear shop, orphan. Now I don't know the whole name. OSCS. They also carry Panama
Okay.
in their shop, and yeah, so he was one of the first ones to get one of the bikes, and it really, for him, kind of was such a, that is not my words, is his words, such a life changer.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just, that relationship kind of ensued, and we eventually made him our ambassador and gave him a bike just for him to have, and he started in our campaign, which was so beautiful. If you
Good.
haven't seen it, please do.
Yeah. Yes. Well, it's a call to action for everyone listening.
Yes,
Go and check
out the video from South Africa that they shot. We've all been just blown away by what they did, the passion they put into it, and it's just such a nice connection, and this is maybe the most stands out the most from the stories that we have with these 6 ambassadors, but each one of them has a similar kind of origin.
Yeah, like it's also with the ambassadors, we didn't approach it in the way of we need an ambassador here and there. So it was the other way around, which resembles with the way we approach things in general at Standard. It was like that we happen to have some sort of a connection to someone, and then we out of this organically grew our relationship, and then an ambassador relationship came out of it. So this is how we usually approach things up until today. Maybe that'll change at some point, but this is actually what we're true to where we're true to ourselves and our
exactly.
You
a similar story. If sorry if I'm rambling on, but just
it's okay. Go on.
It fits so well because it also is the same kind of thing in the local community again, because I mentioned earlier Team Standard, our kind of factory racing team, which over the years has always been, sometimes more, how do you say, more hobby, sometimes more professional, and people maybe, but they've always been at the races. I have stopped a few years ago because I just couldn't get the training in anymore with the kids, and but the guys kept it up, and then eventually 2 years ago, these young guys, under 19 racers from the Brandenburg, which is the state around Berlin, federation, just approached one of our riders at a race and just said they just love what we do, and they want to. It's a bit of a longer story how that all works, but in that under 19 area, there's no team structures in the way that that they are sponsored and they all have the same bike and the same kit. It's all in the clubs, organized through the clubs. Everyone brings the stuff they have from home. Some people have amazing bikes because their parents can afford it. Some people have shitty bikes, and so, but they were this. There was somehow a rare spark in their kind of age group there, and in their team, in their club structure, and so they approached us and said, "Don't you want to sponsor us?" And I mean, we get a lot of these questions, right? Don't you want to sponsor?
I'm sure, yeah.
That was somehow different because it had immediately a personal connection through being at the races together. And we just saw in them that they had this spark that they wanted to and that bring I very casually drop our kind of vision in there. They wanted to redefine something in this
Yeah, yeah,
space of cycling, in the space of racing in Germany, which has been hurting massively ever since Team Telekom, basically.
yes, yeah, exactly. The
And it's
doping.
just been, nobody wanted to see it. It's just been so bad, and they wanted to change that. They wanted, to build something
To make it sexy
to
again.
make it sexy, yeah.
Yeah.
Prince.
And so we did that. We sponsored them for the year, and another interesting fact of that is, of course, maybe then again more on the product side than the community side. We can maybe talk about that later, but for us, of course, it is also interesting to bring our bikes into this area of performance racing. And
Yeah.
the young guys, said to us that their peers from other teams was saying to them, "Oh man, you sure you're gonna race on these aluminium bikes? And isn't that going to be holding you back?" And just what happened is they won everything that year. They won the Bundesliga because the spirit was there, right? Suddenly they were
Yeah.
a team. They all had the same bikes. We got some of our partners, our OE partners, to also be on that. They got wheels from Scope in the Netherlands. They got and they got
So everything tied together in. Yeah.
jersey for them, and it was just awesome. And then out of that, also in the beginning, the trainers, that they are these older guys from the federation, right? They are very traditional. They were very skeptical of the whole setup. But then, of course, after the year, after they saw what it did to the kids, and also they were successful, their opinion changed, and to the point where they actually approached us last year, very late in the year, super late in the year, if we wouldn't maybe be interested in working with them on providing the next step, because there was no under 23 continental team, or there still is no under 23 continental team in the area, in the state of Brandenburg. The last one dissolved a couple of years ago because the sponsor pulled out. And so, yeah, the trainer of these under 19 guys approached us and said, "Look, they have nowhere to go. They all need to go into other teams somewhere in Germany, but they keep studying on the sports boarding school here in Brandenburg. It would be so cool to have something local again. Wouldn't you be interested in partaking in that?" So that is, it's a bit of a tease because it's not launched yet, and I don't want to say too much, but that's gonna be something now. And these natural things happening out of a leap of faith at some point, and a lot of it is maybe gut feeling, but we very much believe in, and that goes back to business strategy, if you can call it that strategy, or I'm a strong believer in kind of doing the right thing, and that'll come back, and
Yeah.
yeah.
It will pay dividends. You are, yeah. Well, first of all, you are, yeah. You are a founder-led brand, which massively helps to. You have a vision. Both of you have a vision, and that vision is to grow a community and help. By the sounds of it, help grassroots sports, and I think that's so important because cycling obviously at the elite level has its own sponsors, and it all has its media coverage and so on. But sometimes the juniors, under 23 teams don't receive the same level of attention. And I mean, through supporting the under 19 team and kind of you recognizing that kind of spirit and believing in them, and not only shows that commitment to expand the community, but also that the importance of supporting grassroots cycling through local teams that can then grow the sport. So it's important to have that, not just focus on the kind of a narrow kind of segment, but also broaden. So I think interesting to find out that, and I'll keep an eye on on the new developments you have teased us here too.
I'm telling you, I think you're gonna love it. I hope.
Well, there is. You mentioned. I want to pick up on something that you mentioned about the Cape Town project, Community Connect, because you mentioned that there was an element of the fashion culture, apparel. And I wanted to pick up on that. When you both set up the brand, there was quite an investment in the aesthetics of how the brand looks, how it comes across, how the bikes look, and there's a big emphasis on creativity as well, on the process. You also mentioned about the skateboarder influences and opening and creating a space where people can come to be in a space that is welcoming, but also to be excited to come to ride a standard bike, but also come to your hub. What influences have you both taken from kind of the skateboard culture, the streetwear culture, the fashion industry? Have you learned anything from that and have kind of used it in the creation of standards and how it has been throughout its growth?
I think it's there's one thing in terms of design and style and yeah, maybe a little bit how to approach the kind of look of Standard is always that we kind of learn from the past and take it to the future in a way. Like we look at, or we always did, and we look at things that have been there already and that we like and that we found cool back then, or that had a spark on them, and then we kind of get inspired by those things and kind of transform them into something new or redefine them into something of our own. And that's something in regards of design and also in regards of the product development that counts for both parts, for example. So I always, for example, I have like really not much of a bicycle background, but I'm always like walking around the world with open eyes, and I always have like this ongoing dashboard of inspirational pictures that I come across, or we take pictures of stuff, or we talk about what even in current trends or something that we find interesting, and that's something that then evolves into something that's that goes into the design of the bicycles or into the design of the apparel or even the font or how we put things together. And of course, Max comes from a design background. He was a product designer at UDK before he started, or before we started the company, which wasn't a real company at the beginning. But anyway, so there's always a very strong visual aspect about our brand, and this design is very important to Max and also to me.
I mean, both none of us has a background in other industries like fashion or skateboarding, but of course we both grew up in Berlin and are certainly heavily influenced by pop culture and just the melting pot life around us. One thing that I would say in regards to also a design philosophy maybe is that for me, in bicycle design, form does not necessarily always have to follow function, because there are just things that, I don't know. The example of dropped seat stays, right? We wouldn't do that even if it has maybe aerodynamic advantages, which I think the jury is also still out on. But it just destroys the beauty of those double diamond frames, and it just looks shit. So we're not going to do it. Even
spoken like a true designer.
This is where I draw the line. Yes, the bike should perform, but also let's be maybe real and not follow each and every little bull that is
cycling trend.
how do you say, pig that is kind of pushed through the village. It's a German saying, maybe.
I don't know.
Now the seat stays are dropped. In 2 years they'll find out that with the rider taken into consideration, the airflow is actually better when the seat stays are not dropped, and then
yeah, but it refers
Yeah.
it
That's
refers
just-
to
don't
of
just
course
jump on
we're
it.
not against absolutely not against modernization and finding what's best and always to try to get better. But this whole approach of looking at the past and at what always worked kind of, and the bicycle is such a like constant product over the years. It has been around for so long and it will be around for so much longer. So
Yeah.
you don't kind of have to jump onto every trend in order to make it a really good product. And I think that's basically what we're doing and what we're trying to do.
Yeah, interesting. That was my kind of next question, but you've already answered. Like in terms of, because I'm interested, obviously, like how is it? How do you keep up with the trends? Because obviously you said trends go and come very fast, but it's important to keep true to the essence of what the brand is, and as the founder still have that capacity to shape the path of the brand to your vision. That's something that companies, as they grow and perhaps the founders take a step back, brands are a bit more flexible, and more people take part in the decision making of. But as a having worked in the founder-led companies, that's my experience of there is a clear vision, and the founder has the potential to inspire you or not. So you people that come and work, this is my opinion, obviously, come work for a founder-led company, either feel inspired and want to join in that vision or not, and then step away. So it's important to pin that, I think.
I mean, for us, it's always also the case that we try and I mean, it's a very great position to be in, and a luxurious position to be in, to be totally free still in what we decide, as we don't have any equity owner investors in the business. But we, on the other hand, try to really also decide stuff together with our colleagues, our employees, because as we go along, we may have a vision, but we're of course also maybe oftentimes not sure. For example, a few years ago, not too long ago, we were wondering, should we make a carbon bike, right? Because we started in metal for various reasons. The two main ones, or three main ones, being the ability to, first of all, the aesthetics and the ride feel, which I personally loved and wanted to work with. Then the ability to create a really original product, low hurdles with not a lot of upfront investment, and to iterate very fast, change geometries, change tube set, all those things. And I forgot what was the third one that I wanted to say. Well, sustainability, yes, but to be very honest, in the beginning, that wasn't too big on my mind. It was more a personal disdain for, riding plastic, maybe, when thinking about carbon. But over the years, people would say, when are you going to make a carbon bike? Or we were wondering, is there maybe, all the world, of course, rides carbon bikes. Should we, in order to grow our market share, should we do a carbon bike? And we actually put that basically to a vote inside the company. I mean, we had our opinion on it, but we wanted to know what. and it
what
was
other people thought.
and really also a great starting point for going further together. Everyone said no, we don't want that.
Okay.
We're the metal guys. We love the bikes as they are. We think also, and that brings me back to your question of what do we think are current trends that we're maybe trying to be part of. And I do honestly believe that with a good bit of luck in there, we might be not following a trend but setting a trend, because I see a movement towards appreciating metal for all that it is.
Well, there is the one big thing that for me is very important, and that is the sustainability.
That is
and
now.
that's all important for our brand. And that is one fact that will kill carbon sooner or later. And that's my world.
It might evolve, but and we don't, we're a small company. We can't spend a lot of money on LCA analysis and but let's all, I don't know, look each other in the eye and say, we all know that carbon is not environmentally friendly. It's basically oil and poison mixed together, and that's it. So that environmental aspect, of course, is by now huge. Also,
of course,
in our considerations, but we believe that metal has a bright future in not only recreational cycling but also performance cycling.
So very good. So you heard it here, folks. Standert Bikes is setting the trend.
And there's such we're in contact with people in the industry, not the bicycle industry but the metal industry. There are fantastic developments in the making. Additive manufacturing really changes the game for metal, and we're gonna make some pretty amazing bikes in the next years, fairly sure.
Very good. I'll look forward to seeing them. I think it's like the sustainability is quite critical nowadays, because we think of cycling as quite environmentally friendly. And yes, when you think about all the carbon bikes that are produced, you kind of have to think about how much do you have to ride this bike in order to become net zero. How to offset that. And, what you are doing in some way already reduces that carbon footprint to the brand, to the customer, to the world. Not everyone will pay attention to that, but I think increasingly, we are seeing that customers value that, and it's important to focus on that.
That goes again maybe a little bit to the thing that we said earlier about how we go about doing things. It's kind of not so important to me if the mass of the customers believes that or not. We believe it, so that's
exactly
what we do. And another aspect of this that I want to mention is also the manufacturing side of things, because for us, what this opened up in the past and still is ongoing is the ability to work with manufacturers that are very inspiring and have basically we've been producing the aluminium models in Italy from the start. They have always been in Italy, but the steel frames have been made in Taiwan until now. We're currently moving the production to the Czech Republic for the steel frames.
Okay.
And now we are working with 4 companies. That is Columbus producing the tubing for the steel frames in Italy. Then it's Datachai producing the aluminium tubing in Italy. Then is the manufacturer in Italy welding and painting the aluminium frames, and the manufacturer in Czech Republic welding and painting the frames. And all of those 4 companies have decades of heritage in producing metal bicycles, and they've gone through a rough patch ever since carbon took over, but it's so inspiring, and it's so rewarding to work with them and to have this. They look at us and they say, "How are you selling all these metal frames?" Yeah.
For them, for a long time, we were the young crazy people from Berlin.
Uh-huh.
But I think we have a little bit more serious standing by now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they smell the same thing that we smell in the air. Like they are excited about the prospects of maybe at least a fraction of the consumer also going in that direction and giving
It changes.
that heritage a new life.
Yeah, I mean, they probably are not crazy, calling you crazy right now because you are keeping them in business. So that's good. But yeah, it's important that that legacy that you are continuing, allowing to continue through the growth of your brand. I want to kind of bring us back to the community aspect because I think that there is a bit more to explore here. There is could you share a personal story or experience where cycling, or either through Standert Bikes or in general, significantly impacted a person or a community that you know of?
Well, one example for sure is the one that we mentioned earlier with Last in South Africa. For us personally, the whole idea of Standard, I remember exactly the moment that it happened. It was on a friends and me were doing a Trans-Pyrenees cross with mountain bikes from Biarritz to Barcelona, and we're pushing and carrying up the bikes for hours, some remote mountain passes. And I remember that it was in that moment that this idea took shape. And so it was during cycling that cycling changed my life. Maybe, yeah.
Anna, do you have any story that where there was where you saw a transformation?
Cycling kind of grew on me more and more, and for me though, the product itself, the bike, is something that I always loved, and I was always cycling, of course, but I never on any sort of sportive level or something. But the bike itself is for me a very precious, because it's such a simple way to be mobile in the city and to not be dependent on anything, and it gives you such a independency and freedom. And I can see that with my kids as well. Like, I mean, they both were cycling from a very young age. Wonderful. So that was great. And you see in them how cycling changed their world, how in terms of like being able to run fast and to be free, and it kind of really cycling in cities is so important. And I really wish that cars would play a minor role in cities, and I believe that bicycles are the future. Like cars will probably eventually be gone, and public transport will be more in focus in the cities, and of course bicycles, and some cities are already doing that so well. And and also the like-mindedness of people who cycle, because they want to not only be like independent in terms of not having to drive in the traffic or something, but also to be in the air and to do something active with their body. And it's kind of a whole holistic kind of way of looking at life. People that cycle are most likely friendly, open-minded,
you do exactly.
healthy people, so I like that about it.
I think we are moving in the right direction. Utrecht, for instance, is obviously it's a further ahead than London is, for sure. But it's a change that will happen, I think, but it will be slow over years or perhaps decades. But we probably are in the right path towards that.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it amazing? I mean, bicycle has been around the longest and it will be around the longest. So it's
Mm.
just such an amazing product. Like it is the thing that comes so naturally to when people want to be faster than walking, like it's the bike, and it will be in 100 years or 200 years still be the bicycle. So it's amazing.
I mean, it will be here. There was a quote from Steve Jobs. It's about the bicycle is the greatest invention ever.
100%. That's completely what I think.
Better than smartphones, for sure.
Yeah. The bike will also be longer, like around longer than the smartphone, for sure.
Yeah.
It will last.
Yeah. Well, you give a bicycle to a kid, and you're giving them freedom. So yeah, it's something very important to remember.
Totally.
I think so. Obviously, you have been working together since the beginning of the inception of Standards. And I think, what can you share? What lessons can you share to the people listening for creative entrepreneurs? So balancing kind of their visions with the business realities. What advice would you give to them from your own experiences?
Well, I was looking at this question because you sent it on, and I was just writing down one sentence that occurred to me in 1 second, and that is: stay true to your style and your beliefs, and don't wait too long to get help from someone who knows how to manage the money. Because usually creative people are not so good at doing business. We had to experience that ourselves. It was always the one big thing where we kind of um, we were so like full of ideas and we had a good gut feeling and everything. And but most of our decisions were always just made out of like taste or gut feeling or something that we were really passionate about. And like it brought us a long way, but only recently really we kind of have a really great help in terms of someone who helps us with all financial issues at Standard. And that is a big life changer for us, because it gives you such a good feeling if this is in the hands of someone who really knows what they're doing. And that is, you can't do everything on your own, especially
Yeah.
if you're a creative. There's so much part in your brain that is consumed by creativity.
Exactly.
Not
Yeah.
much left in terms of the business part. And yeah, my advice would always be don't wait too long to get help from someone who really is passionate about the financial bit or the business part.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my advice. Get a good team together.
That's important as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. So, I mean, there was with this conversation about creative entrepreneurs balancing your vision with the financial realities and managing a business. I think there's a question that needs to be asked for both of you. What does success look like to you?
Do you want to go first?
No, you.
Damn, thought I'd get more time to think about it. Well, success with my business, with our business, is a sustainable business that puts food on the table of everyone involved in it and gives us the freedom to pursue our passions and pursue our creative freedom and bring something into the world that adds value, because that is one big aspect also of why we're in bicycles, is because we really do believe that we're doing something good for community, for society, with our product, and so yeah, to be able to continue that in the freedom that we have creatively and in following our passions, that is what success would look like to me, or looks like to me.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Maybe add to this that I always, ever since I can remember, when I thought about my life, I always wanted to do something that I love and that I'm happy while doing it. And yeah, so I think this is super important, that we're successful if we're doing something that we're passionate about, that we like, that we feel has meaning, that that is successful in terms of the financial aspect, so that we can all live from it without worrying too much, because worries are always something that kind of blocks the feeling of being happy or being satisfied with what you're doing. So there needs a certain financial success needs to go along with what you're doing in order to be able to actually to enjoy it, basically. And to have enough time for the family, and to also be a good example for our kids in terms of being happy with what we're doing, so that it's not a struggle, or something that stresses us out all the time, and so on and so forth. So
exactly.
that's what success is for me as well. Like, it's more
Very good.
internally, and also to have this for our team, because it's super important that you surround yourself with people that feel the same way about this, because otherwise I couldn't enjoy it as much too.
Thanks for sharing. I think that's to everyone that might be listening to this conversation. I think it will definitely be inspirational to have your experiences shared here, and hopefully learning a few lessons along the way. So we came to the end of our conversation, but before we go, so I've started a tradition in the podcast where every guest leaves a question to the next guest. And you will also have the opportunity to leave a question to my next guest. So the question that was left for you is the following: has there been a moment or an occasion in your life that has shaped it in a significant way?
There's moments every few years, I think, that make your life turn into certain direction. Of course, one of the most obvious ones in terms of Standert is the creation.
Yeah, of course.
Company. But even throughout the years, this has changed so much. So there has we've been growing organically, but quite constantly, and with this growth, a lot of changes has been going along. And then also we had 2 kids in the meantime, so that also changed quite a bit. And you kind of have to redefine your goal every now and then. You have to really totally overcome what has been meaningful for quite some time, or has been the goal for quite some time, and then you kind of find yourself in a completely different situation all of a sudden, and then you have to kind of formulate a new goal and redefine of what really means something to you, and you kind of shift your whole emphasis on how to value things. So yeah, I think I can't really say there was one particular moment. It has been moments roughly every 2-3 years that really changed everything. So yeah, you have to be flexible.
Okay. I want to say one specific one, because that is me meeting you.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because, in a lot of ways, you're the mother of my children. We've been happily married for many years and all that. But I do believe that had I not met you and had I not come across your entrepreneurial spirit in opening your own bar, which is a very different thing than maybe Standert, but not what maybe wasn't so different back then. That is what set that in motion in me, that I could go that way. So in a way, I think, I don't know if Standert would exist had I not met you and gotten that confidence kind of from seeing you just having done it. So that's one. That's one of many.
Thank you for sharing. That's very deep and insightful into, well, your relationship and the creation of Standert Bikes as well. So there is now the opportunity for you to leave a question for my next guest.
Well, one question that always interests me when I talk to people who are doing something where you need to have the guts to do something and something on their own, kind of out of their own inspiration, and to follow their dream, because there's always times where you are down or where things are not going the way you think they should. And one question that always is interesting is to find out what gets you motivated when you are really down, so, or when you're in times of trouble or doubts, and what drives you then, because it's very hard to motivate yourself when you're not in a good space. When you're in a good space, it's easy, but when you're not, what is it?
Yeah.
Very good. Anna and Max, thank you.
Very nice talking to you.
Yeah, very nice talking to you.
What a great conversation. I hope you found it as insightful as I did. Max and Anna really have created something very unique with Standert Bikes. Through that thoughtful approach to design, business, and engagement, they have created more than a brand. They have built a movement that invites everyone to ride towards a better future. And they are making cycling sexy again. Now, tune in to my next podcast, where my next guest will answer Max and Anna's questions. Until then, thanks you for listening.